Yes, we've. All right, you ready? Photographer?
Yep.
Yeah, good photographer here. All right, so when you get them on their back or supine, poor thing, now we have some considerations. If you've done a really good job with them sideline, there's very little to do on the legs here. And for your timing, you need to be aware that if you have worked well while it's in one position, don't overdo it when it's in a different one. If you've got a target area, like hamstrings or something, which would be back here, you would work on it in all positions because you're loading it in different directions. But if for the general work, if you're choosing to do adductors when they're sideline, then you wouldn't do them or focus on them when they're on their tummy or on their back. Bolstering, I often don't bolster in this position, only because I'm not going to have them on their back very long. But if you do, and then these of course would be either in their own covering or under the sheet. If people have a problem with, this person has a problem with their knee, but if they have a problem with their back, this position tips the pelvis back and flattens the lumbar area. What you don't want is the lumbar vertebrae in extension. So I think even here, if you get maybe a little closer and focus right here, Linda, if I take this out, you'll see what can kind of happen to that low back area. It has a tendency to want to do that and tip. And when we bolster, it comes back like that and flattens out the low back. So if there was a low back issue, well, we'll just have to figure this out. There! If there was a low back issue specifically, then I'd be more apt to bolster. The reason why I don't is because this becomes a passive stretch on this hamstring area by the knee. And it puts the knee into extension so that I can work on this quadricep knee extension group while it's kind of in a passive short. So this poor knee that we've been fussing about right here, this will be one of the joints that we're going to focus on. We'll have the hip joint and its capsule, and then we have the knee joint and its capsule, and then down here where these two bones form the stirrup that goes down into this platform. Big bones, smaller bones, and then the digits, the tiny bones. The knee is an interesting joint. It's weight bearing, and it has to move every time we walk, and it has to have a decent degree of range of motion in order for us to do the things that we do. It's adapted to us being on 2 feet instead of on 4 feet. It's one of the larger joints of the body, and with increased body weight, it takes a lot of compression, just like the hip joint does. It's loose. Now this is way loose. Come on up on it. Because all of the structure has torn. But it's held with a bunch of ligaments in here. So there is an ability to have some sideways translation. There's also the ability for a little bit of rotation. You have to bend it a little bit to get that. And then here on the inside, this is where the meniscus is at. And it's a ring that gives the joint a little bit more of a cave in there. And this guy, those are your anterior and posterior ligaments right there. This person really needs surgery. So, and then this is the tendon, patellar tendon, and then from here to here it's the patellar ligament, and it hooks onto that bump right there, one of those bony landmarks called tibial tuberosity. This thing, there's a groove right there. And the patella has to be moved over into that groove and then slide up. So the quadriceps here pull that over, and then when we bend it, well, I just finished tearing it up. So when we bend it, here's that groove. When we bend it, it slides in the groove. If that doesn't occur, then it slides on the edge. So this can be a cause of patellar tendonitis and some of the other things that people complain about with the knee. So you should not do this to somebody's knee. But you can see the construct in through there. So a lot of people have knee issues, and most of them can be solved, or at least the symptoms of it can be solved with the soft tissue around it. Okay, draping's pretty easy for here.